Hello YouTube, this is ChardarYuGiOh, and today I want to talk about common misplays with Heavy Storm and Mystical Space Typhoon. These cards are staples, they are in almost every deck, but I still see people misplay with them a lot, like at my locals and on Dueling Network. So I'm going to talk about these cards and hopefully help people become better at the game. The first very common misplay I want to talk about is the blind MST. So, suppose we have our agent player here. Now, our agent player sets two cards. Say he summons Earth, does a search, sets two cards, and ends. Now, we have our player 2 over here. Player 2 decides, that's a weak monster, I want to run over that, I don't want to let him tribute with it, sync with it, do anything like that. But player 2, our Dark World player, is worried about, suppose he has a D prison or something down here. So, he drew a Mystical Space Typhoon, he MSTs. Now, he could either hit, suppose he hits a Dust Shoot. Now, player 1, our agent player, chains the Dust Shoot, looks at player 2's hand, and sends a card back to their deck. So basically, they didn't destroy the Dust Shoot. The Dust Shoot was activated anyway, so they just effectively wasted the Mystical Space Typhoon. Now, what if they had set a card, then they activate it, they chain Mystical Space Typhoon, blow up card. They just wasted the card again. So, basically, you're flipping a coin. These two cards could potentially be any spell or trap card in the game. Do you really want to waste, suppose you run one Mystical Space Typhoon, you run two, you don't really want to waste them to potentially destroy what could be anything. Yeah, sometimes you might get lucky, you might hit Solemn Warning, you might hit D-Prison, but that is highly unlikely. And it really doesn't make a difference if they have one card set, 3 cards set. They could have all 5 cards set. You don't want to, that would be very bad, but you don't want to waste your Mystical Space Typhoon on just randomly pick a card. Okay, you hit the Dust Shoot. You don't want to waste your Mystical Space Typhoon on that. And what's even worse, that I see this at my locals occasionally. This is much less common, but player 1 has one set card, and they use Heavy Storm. They use Heavy Storm they blind Heavy Storm to get rid of one card. Boom, it was a warning. Congratulations. It was MST. That was bad. It was Mind Crush. That's terrible. Okay, you don't want to blind MST, and you definitely do not want to blind with Heavy Storm. That's extremely bad. So, what if you're asking, but most spell and trap cards are set this format. When is it appropriate to use that? Okay, suppose they have 2 cards set, and you can either win the game or give yourself a humongous plus. Just, if you're ready to make a huge push in the game, and you know that you can back it up, that is when you use your Heavy Storms and your Mystical Space Typhoons. Suppose you're ready to make a Christia, and you're ready to make a Hyperion, and then a Christia in one turn, that is when you used your Mystical Space Typhoon. You didn't waste it, you saved it, so you could clear their back row, get rid of their warning, get rid of their judgment, get rid of torrential, anything like that. It doesn't matter if it was a bluff or not, you now know that you can safely make that huge play. So that is when an appropriate time to use your MST and to use your Heavy Storm. Now, suppose player 1 sets 3 cards, and then you can activate Heavy Storm. Heavy Storm's a little different than Mystical Space Typhoon. I play it a little different. You still don't want to blind it, but if you can get a +2 or a +3 off of it, that might be worth going for. You just have to use your own judgment to think when it is appropriate to play this card, when it is not appropriate to play this card. Now, another pretty common misplay that I see is also with Mystical Space Typhoon. I see people set this card a lot. They draw it and they immediately set it. So what happens if your opponent blind MSTs your MST? You both just wasted your MSTs. You know, you do not want you only get so many of these perfect one-for-one removals. So, generally, how I like to play, I like to have one Mystical Space Typhoon in my hand at any point in the game. So if there's any point when I'm ready to make that huge push with Hyperion, Christia, Grapha, anything like that, I have that MST ready. I have that MST ready to go. I'm ready to play it. So if I draw 2, then I set 1. Just in case they do blind it, I chain it. I can get a plus off of that. That is good. But you generally want to save your Mystical Space Typhoon, and you definitely want to save your Heavy Storm. So, generally, another thing is defending against Heavy Storm. This one isn't so much a misplay as preference, but I still want to talk about it. Heavy Storm is back, people don't set as much. That much is normal. So, how much can I safely set with Heavy Storm being back? Suppose our agent player sets 1 card. Now, you don't want to set more than 1 card in your opening turn. Reason being, if they actually Heavy Storm now, they can. That's a plus. That's 1-for-1. You know, 1-for-1 is fine, especially because you now, after they do that, you know that you're safe from Heavy Storm the rest of the game. You can then start setting cards and back yourself up really well. Now, suppose our Dark World player sets 1. See, now you can feel safe setting 2 cards. Because even if they Heavy Storm then, it's 2-for-2, rounded down 1-for-1. You're still making back the same advantage. If they set 2, if they set 2, they're probably not going to Heavy Storm right now. So you can set 3. Generally, what I always like to do is make sure that my opponent cannot get a plus off of Heavy Storm. At any point in the game, my opponent should not be able to get a plus off of Heavy Storm. That is how I choose to play that, and I hope you can learn from this. There's lots. I'm not the first person to make a video about this. I'm not the last person to make a video about this, but I think it's really worth knowing, just because these cards, they're very common. Every person has them, so most people playing these cards, they take these cards for granted. But these are 2 of the most important cards that you will play with in the game right now. So just think about when you're playing these. Try to plus off Heavy Storm. Like, you know, maybe your opponent doesn't know better. Maybe they do set 3. You know, if you can plus off Heavy Storm, that's fantastic. You see, that is what separates bad players, good players, and great players. Are cards like these. Cards that everyone has, and only a very select few people know how to use properly. So, I hope I helped out some people with this. If you have any questions, if you hate this video, if you like this video, let me know. I'm glad to help. I might do more videos like this in the future. And if you're wondering why this Yu-Gi mat is still sealed, I'm still selling these at my locals. I think I have 2 or 3 left. I've gotten rid of quite a bit of these. So if you're interested in that and you go to my locals, let me know. And peace out, YouTube.